What is going on, guys? In this video, I'll be previewing the Oregon Ducks at Arizona State this weekend because I do know I have a lot of Ducks fans on this channel, so I'm going to talk about this game. And I also wanted to talk about the big game this weekend between the Oregon State Beavers and the Washington Huskies, which will be in another video tonight. But one of these games should be closer than the other. But no matter what the outcome is, this is the big week for the Pac-12 championship race. If Oregon and Washington win this weekend, it will be a locked rematch for the Pac-12 championship game on December 1st. And I was looking forward to doing a big preview on that matchup. Oregon versus Washington in the Pac-12 championship game and a rematch for a spot in the playoffs is a perfect farewell to the Pac-12 conference. And I will definitely have to cover that game, but there's also going to be other big games for conference championship week that will have playoff implications. So I will have a lot of conference championship games that I could possibly preview. And if you want me to preview any of those conference championship games, just let me know in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. But without further ado, let's get into the Oregon Ducks at Arizona State preview. On the season, Oregon is 9-1 and still trying to avenge their Week 7 loss to the undefeated Washington Huskies. Winning this game puts them one step closer to getting their rematch with the Huskies. And it's not just about getting their rematch with the Huskies. They have even bigger goals of making the playoffs. But we can't look ahead, we gotta focus one game at a time, and it starts with beating Arizona State this week. Now for Arizona State, they've been a team in rebuild mode as they are 3-7 on the year with their first year head coach, Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham was ironically an offensive coordinator for the Oregon Ducks just a year ago. Arizona State may not be bowl eligible this year, and they might not win another game, but they're coming off a big win against UCLA on the road in a lower scoring battle, 17-7. But how much of that momentum can you carry over into a game against the number one scoring offense in the country led by Bo Nix and the Oregon Ducks? Arizona somehow found a way to hold Washington to 15 points a few weeks back, and that game was coming off Washington's huge win against the Oregon Ducks. And Washington was getting compared to 2019 LSU. But let's be real, Washington has came down a little bit in the second half of the year as their last 6 games has been single-digit wins and their defense has its struggles. But Washington has been in a high-flying offense this year. Arizona State pulled out a win against UCLA, holding them to only 7 points. Arizona State has pulled a couple good games out of the season against pretty decent teams, but they're very unpredictable because they did lose 55-3 to a Utah offense that has struggled this year. So my question is, will Arizona State be able to play their A game against Oregon? Because that's the only way they will have a shot in this game. This Oregon Ducks offense has been rolling this year, and their defense has been playing good too. And it looks like they get better every single week. But as a Duck fan, there's got to be a concern for all the penalties and the small mistakes we give up, because those will not slide against the best teams. Dan Lanning really needs to get on these kids about the penalties, and we need to stop with all the stupid mistakes. The Oregon Ducks only beat USC by 9 last week. I know we can make up excuses for why our Ducks didn't play better, as they were up 36-14 in the fourth quarter, and they did give up 13 points late. They were also having so many mistakes, mainly the bad penalties that gave USC free yards and knocked the Ducks back on yardage. This was also the Ducks' first night game of the year, and we all know night games can be very underwhelming on teams, but the best teams can make up all kinds of excuses, but it doesn't matter in the end, because the best teams fix their mistakes, and that's really what the Ducks need to do the next couple of weeks. The talent is there, the chemistry is there, but we can't underperform in fourth quarters like we did against USC last week. And we really need to lay back on the penalties. We had 13 penalties last week. That's crazy. But let's get back to the game against Arizona State. And I know Arizona State is a bad team on paper, but they have shown some upside on the defense. They're just so inconsistent. But I don't know if you guys know this, but the last time Oregon played Arizona State was in 2019. In a game they lost, but there's a pattern that is similar to that year. Oregon was actually 9-1 on that year, and they're 9-1 this year. And they lost to Arizona State that year, and they went to 9-2. That worries me just a little bit because of the history with us playing in Arizona, because we have also lost the last 2 away games against Arizona State. And 2019 Arizona State wasn't a terrible team, as they did finish 8-5 in 2019. But any in-conference game isn't a cakewalk for Oregon. On paper, Oregon should blow out Arizona State, but it's not going to be a guaranteed win. I just hope we show up, and I figure we'll be fine, as we are playing for a lot right now. And we've been playing really good football minus the little mistakes like penalties. So this should be an interesting game. And another thing I have to mention is another upside Arizona State might have in this game is their head coach was literally an offensive coordinator for the Ducks just last year. He was also an offensive coordinator at Auburn for Bo Nix freshman year. He might find ways to limit the Ducks' offensive explosive plays, and he might know Bo Nix just a little too well. But it's going to be very hard for anybody to stop Bo Nix along with that rushing attack they have. it's going to be a tough time for Arizona State trying to stop that Oregon offense. So before I do give my predictions on this game, let's give some of the information on this game, and let's talk about the stats. Starting off, this game will be on Fox at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be at Mountain American Stadium, so Arizona State will have home field advantage. But something they don't have is a good chance of winning, as they are with a 3% chance of winning compared to the Ducks' around 97% chance to win. And the Ducks are also favored by 24.5 points, with the over-under at 53.5. Arizona State is 2-3 in their last 5 games, coming off a big win against UCLA, while Oregon is 4-1 in their last 5 games, with their last loss coming 5 weeks ago against Washington. Oregon is 6-1 in conference play, while Arizona State is 2-5 in conference play. Arizona State really doesn't have much to play for. So like I said before, Oregon on paper is a way better team than Arizona State, and it's not even close. But both of these teams are very well coached, and will only keep getting better the next couple years. The Ducks have done a really good job recruiting lately, and Dan Lanning is turning this team into a really good defensive team going into the Big 12 Conference the next couple years. While Arizona State has some young talent and is moving to the Big 12, so this will be their last matchup. But let's talk about the stats and who the season leaders are. Bo Nix has the #1 completion percentage in the country, and he's thrown for 3,135 yards, 29 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. One of them wasn't even his fault, but he does have 2 interceptions. While Arizona State's quarterback has thrown for 1,344 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 interceptions. This Arizona State passing attack has had its struggles. Bucky Irvin, who is a key piece to this Oregon Ducks offense, leads the team in rushing yards. He's ran for 939 yards and 10 touchdowns on the year. Arizona State has had more success running the ball than passing. Their running back has ran for 626 yards and 8 touchdowns. The Ducks' leading receiver is Troy Franklin, who has had 60 catches for over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, while Arizona State has had a pretty good #1 receiver, Elijah Badger, who has 58 catches for 649 yards and 3 touchdowns. It should be an interesting game, and I am just a little scared as a Duck fan because of the history, but I am confident in this Ducks team to take care of business this week against a pretty bad Arizona State team that is in rebuild mode. But either way, it should be a fun game, and without further ado, let's get into my predictions. I do have Oregon winning this game big, 42-17. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon's offense starts out slow, maybe scoring only 3 points in the first quarter, and maybe like a 3-3 type of first quarter. But I do have faith in our offense to get going. But we'll have to wait and see how this game turns out. It should be interesting to see how the Ducks come out and play against a team that they've struggled with in the past. But Arizona State is a bad team this year. But that is going to do it for the video. If you have enjoyed my content, subscribe to the channel and like the video. And also tune in for another preview I'm doing tonight with the Washington Huskies at the Oregon State Beavers. I'm very excited for the games this weekend, even though the slate of games is one of the worst all year. There will be some fun games, including watching my Ducks play. So hope you all enjoy the games, and peace out, guys.